Good morning, everyone.
Good morning.
I'm Councillor Junior Valley. I'm the chair of the panel this morning. Welcome everybody to this meeting. And we've had a pleasant journey, not like me. 10-minute journey ended up 40 minutes. We don't have a fire drill today, so if there is a fire, please follow the fire exit doors and assemble outside. Anybody who needs the Wi-Fi code for Swindon 3, if you haven't got it, it is all lowercase. Success, goal, welcome, all lowercase. Goals. Success, goals, welcome. You need it? Oh, you've got one over there. Apologies of absence, Matt.
So we've had apologies from Councillor Kevin Aspin. He's been substituted by Councillor Rob Smith here today. And Louise Williams, GOG member, has also sent apologies.
And Councillor Bucknell said Councillor Shepherd is out of the country. So
yes, I believe so. Yeah.
All right, thank you very much. Declaration of interest. Do members of the panel have any interest to declare? Thank you very much. Minutes, page 7 to 26, to confirm the part 1 minutes of the previous meeting held on 11th of September 2025 as true and correct record. Comments. Councillor Wilson.
Thank you, Chair. Just a quick question. Page 10. Last time we discussed the court listings, and the minute mentioned that the PCC was supposed to provide information outside of the meeting, just to understand how they compare with neighbouring police forces. And I believe I haven't seen that information yet.
That is correct. I haven't seen that as well.
Apologies, Chair, I just missed that. Thank you for raising it, Councillor. We just had a conference call yesterday, so we've got the latest figures we could provide, and we does that information direct from that meeting, so I'll do that whilst we're in the meeting.
Any other comments from councillors? No? Proposer? Sorry, seconder? All in favour?
All right.
Thank you. Chairman's announcements. Oh. Apologies. Can we have a proof? Oh, okay. Sorry, I didn't see that. Can we also approve the minutes of the complaints subcommittee meeting held on 1st of October 2025? Any comments? Can we approve that? Proposer, seconder? Person second. Councillor Munro. They can vote on it, but we can. You have seen the minutes, yes. So we can vote on that as well.
Yeah, you don't actually have to have been there.
You don't have to be.
I'm not going to vote on it because I wasn't there. No. I trust Julie.
Just for the process,
they were.
we are all happy with the minutes, okay?
Yes.
Thank you very much. Jumping my gun. So, agenda 4, Chairman's announcement. I think everybody's had a copy of this. The government has announced a proposal to replace the police and crime commissioner model from 2028. The powers of the PCC will be transferred either to the mayors of a strategic authority or a panel of council leaders. A letter from the policing minister providing further detail is available on page 27 and 28 of the agenda. A letter from the PCC has also been circulated to the members. We will keep updated as we get further information from them. Agenda 5, public participation. The following question has been submitted by Mr. Paul Summers. a Wiltshire total together restorative justice facilitator in time to receive a verbal response at today's meeting. So his question was, shall I read that out?
Yeah, I'm quite happy to do that, Chair. Thank you.
Can the Wiltshire Police and Crime Panel account for the low numbers of restorative justice cases, referrals across Wiltshire and Swindon, which may serve to deny victims of crime the opportunity to discuss the harm that has been caused and find a way to repair that harm? So I have, having received the you have. So thank you for the question, raising the important topic of restorative justice. The panel recognises the value of bringing both victims and perpetrators of crime together to enable the perpetrators to better understand the impact of their actions and to allow those harmed to move forward. Wiltshire Police and Crime Panel receives quarterly updates about how the Police and Crime Commissioner is working towards the goal in his Police and Crime Panel to improve the experience of victims and deliver justice. It has also received in-depth presentations about efforts to reduce reoffending and support victims following receipt of your question. The panel will seek details about the number of restorative justice cases in Wiltshire, what resources are available, and how the service is being offered. We have copied that with the OPCC.
Does that mean, Chair, I'll get a written response to my question?
Did we get a written response to that question? No?
Yes, of course. Obviously, we only received the request on Friday, so we can consolidate that information. Again, how best would you like us to provide that? Obviously, so we can probably send it to be included in the minutes. Is that helpful? Is that the best way?
Do you want to come here, Mr. Son?
Yeah.
Ask any
For what reason?
further questions? How you like your answers?
I don't know whether the panel's familiar with restorative justice in Wiltshire, Swindon.
Very much.
It operates under the auspices of the Horizon Witness and Victim Care. We have a very, very experienced group of facilitators. Thank you. And the big concern that we all have at the moment has been the ongoing very low case referrals. Which, as I said in my question, obviously impacts upon the potential for victims having the opportunity to engage in a restorative process. So it's just at this point of, over the last, several months, referrals being extremely low, and whether in fact the panel can actually account for that.
We have a highly competent restorative justice team that was graded outstanding in my office. I am not aware of the fact that there has been a reduction in referrals to that office. If there has been, then we will look to find out what the reason is, because we have the capability and the facility to engage, as we have been doing, in some significant restorative justice. We acknowledge the importance of restorative justice, of course we do. But I would also make the point that yesterday I chaired the Wiltshire Criminal Justice Board, and the whole criminal justice sector is currently under huge stresses right now. And we were briefed yesterday for that. There will be certain cases coming to magistrates' court that will not actually be listed to come to court until May 2027. Now that perhaps opens an opportunity for more restorative justice in that period, but it also places huge pressures on Horizon to be able to manage victims, and it places huge pressures on the force to manage witnesses for such a huge duration, while this listing gets longer and longer for both magistrates and Crown Courts, but we will certainly look to provide the answer to that specific question.
And Chair, I think it is really important to understand the sort of is a consensual process. This isn't something that we've got direct control over beyond providing the service, of course. It is every right of every victim to be offered restorative justice, but that does require the victim to wish to be engaged and the offender to be engaged in that process. Obviously it's the benefits are evident and we want to improve that and encourage that, but again, it has to be at the right victim, the right offender, that right relationship, and it to help and support them on their journey to recovery and kind of experience. So again, we obviously, of course, monitor the referrals and we'll get back to the latest figures on that. But the important thing measure for us is have we made sure we contact and offer that service and that ability to experience the sort of justice approaches to victims.
Thank you, Chair.
Thank you. So you'll expect a written response.
Yes, I'll send it through to Matt.
Yes, yeah.
Thank you very much.
Councillor Henning.
Did we get to comment on that, Chairman? Can we comment on that
Do
question?
you want to have a quick comment?
On the back of that question, yes, I do. Funnily enough, restorative
My advice
justice.
is technically no.
Yeah, well, it's a big thing, and I had a long conversation with Alan.
Quick one.
About this, and I did bring up a fantastic movie I saw. Probably over the weekend. It was a French movie, subtitles, but it went through the whole restorative justice. It was a story about the restorative justice, and it was excellent. I've been involved in restorative justice for many years through the youth offending team, through the scrutiny panel that looks at out of court resolutions, through my primary school where we tried to introduce the ethos of restorative justice very early in young children. And I think there was a big push some years back, and I think that's drifted. I think it really has drifted, and the restorative justice process has gone to sleep. It's still there, and I know what we do in Wiltshire Police to cover that. But I think this is a good opportunity, and I thank you for bringing it up to relook at it again. Especially through the criminal justice board, things like that. So, thanks for the question.
Thank you, Councillor Henning.
Chair, if I just could respond to Councillor Henning's war stories. Weekend with one of my own, I was involved in the restorative justice after the genocide in Rwanda, partly instrumental in putting in place the Gacaca courts, which were village restorative justice schemes. So I'm fully aware of the benefits of restorative justice, and that's why we have an outstanding team in the office of the PCC.
Thank you, Commissioner. It's on the mic. Right, agenda 6, update from the Police and Crime Commissioner. Please.
Thank you, Chair. There are a lot of moving pieces right now, of course. And I will be, as the next item on the agenda, talking about the performance of Wiltshire Police Force and the PO report. But the pieces that are moving strategically, which we are obviously monitoring, are the grant, which we will be told what we will receive. That's the central funding from government in December, which will help us shape our police priorities for the coming year and help me rewrite the police and crime plan. We normally receive that a few days before Christmas, but we've been told we will receive that earlier this year, which I hope that is true because it will help. It will help us shape policing to your priorities in the new year. We are also awaiting the police reform bill, which we have been told is imminent. We've been told that for the last 3 months. And that will, of course, shape how we are able to respond to your new priorities based on the funding that we get. So if we are required to ensure that the end ways and means equation is in balance, that we are not talking pure political rhetoric, we will be considering all those moving pieces as soon as we can gather the information that is necessary for us to start to make decisions, and we will obviously all like to include you in those decisions as we all already have. You have seen my letter in response to the disbandment, my disbandment. We are not sure what is going to happen to the OPCC. I also sent the letter from the Association of PCCs, which I hope was also distributed to all members, because that was a cross-party response, and the letter was signed by the Labour PCC from Merseyside on behalf of all of us. That's all of the PCCs and the deputy mayors who are currently in post. The very latest that you should know is that the APC is lodging a legal challenge to the government on a number of issues. Firstly, the facts that we have been given by the government would be a saving of 100 million. That is, we believe, a nonsensical figure. And when I say we, I am representing a cross-party representation of PCCs. And we believe that there has also been a gross abuse of parliamentary procedure. The Home Office bill, the devolution bill that was in the House of Lords yesterday, made it very clear in a statement, which I was only able to start to read that this morning. I can circulate that if you would wish, but it says the Home Secretary can only pass powers from a PCC to a mayor on condition that a public consultation has been held, which it has not been held. So, to be quite honest, I'm not sure what is going to happen and whether my post will continue as is or will become that of a deputy mayor. Much of it will be wrapped into the decisions about devolution and this magic word, coterminosity, which is boundary alignments. And of course, in Wiltshire, we are very different from anywhere else in that if Swindon was to go to Thames Valley and to Wiltshire Council was to go to some other body, then what on earth happens to Wiltshire Police Force? We really do not know. There are so many pieces moving out there at the moment that I'm monitoring. Naji's monitoring, of course, at chief exec level. I have asked both leaders of our two councils to be kept involved in what is going on regarding devolution, but I have not. So I am scrabbling around trying to find the information to help me make decisions on behalf of us collectively and on behalf of the residents of Wiltshire. So we are not in a very clever position right now, I'm afraid. And I'm very happy to take questions before we move on to the police and crime performance.
Well, it's not Commissioner's questions time yet, but
Okay.
We've got a few minutes. Anybody wants to? Alan?
Yeah. Thank you, Chair. I just want to say, I mean, you'll know I'm a great supporter of the role of police and crime commissioners. I think it's a terrible shame about what is going on, and I particularly agree with the way that the announcement was made and the consultation. I support all that. I'm just wondering about the impact on Wiltshire and Swindon and what that is likely to be. I mean, we have a lot of important functions sit in the office of the Police and Crime Commission, and when with such uncertainty, how are we going to ensure that the commissioning of contracts, for instance, many of which will go beyond 2028. What's happening about that? I don't know about the chief constable's contract. And it's what are the risks for Wiltshire? What is going to happen about the precept? How is that going to be set? All of those questions, which are absolutely vital, really, to the future of policing, but also safer communities more generally in Hampshire. How do we manage? So, did I say Hampshire? Sorry, Wiltshire.
I've come to the wrong meeting.
Never mind. Yeah, no, sorry about that. But how are we going to manage that? And what thought has been given to that in yourself and also your office?
Yeah, I mean that's all of our concern. It is for the residents of Wiltshire.
Yeah.
And we then have the additional concerns about the people who work with us and for us.
Yeah.
We are trying to address those concerns. There are, for example, the Association of PCCs, Donna Jones and others, some pretty strong and robust individuals are putting together, if you like, an aid memoir of checks that we will have to try and work through, an aid memoir of questions we need to ask the government for further guidance. And as we get that, then of course, at my level, Naji will be working that with the chief execs, and we will try and bring it together in some coherent fashion so we know which are the critical functions, which are the desirable functions we need to perform, where they best sit, what are the processes and procedures for transferring those functions and the individuals who currently perform those functions. So in many ways, it's, if I go back to sort of strategic planning, we need a whole raft of lines of operations and intermediate decisions that we need to take in order to get to a position where we are maintaining at least the sort of level of public security that we are currently delivering. And we are doing it through, if you like, this august body as much as my office. We have improved policing significantly, working with the chief constable. And, I would hate to see that now go backwards. And, that's my ambition. It's all of our ambition. We all share it, I'm sure. Nigel?
Thank you, Chair. Thank you for the question, Councillor. Just to reassure you, as you'd expect from the official side, we conducted a risk assessment in terms of that work, and so there's two significant overarching risks, I think, for me in terms of our assessment. One is obviously around the democratic process, the decision-making, corporate governance role in terms of as that transitions. Obviously, I'm very clear to add, it's a government announcement, there's legislation and parliamentary process that needs to be gone through in terms of providing that clarity, and there's a policing reform white paper that's also due to come in the coming weeks. That's what the Home Secretary said. So again, there's a number of pieces of legislation direction, which I think we need to wait for in terms of getting into the specifics. However, obviously there's that element around the governance and the corporate work, and as the PCC said, the key thing is where those functions are. The Home Office has been very clear that those functions will continue in some form. It is about what that looks like, and as the PCC said, devolution is part of that mix, so how that grows. But of course, as things stand, in Wiltshire, in Swindon, the area will be covered by something called the Policing and Crime Board as chair and letter. We don't know what that looks like, we don't know how that works, we don't know how that connects to the rest of the functions and numerous things, because that's new, that's definitely new. The other important thing is that, of course, there are mayoral authorities already are responsible for policing already in the country. There are 5 areas, there are a number of 4 or 5, including Hampshire, who are going through that process by 2027. So there's a lot of learning that will take place on that as well. Particularly on mitigating the risk and obviously continue to deliver functions. Question mark is, are those functions going to change? Because that may be part of what the reform is, but we can respond and work through that. On the second risk, which is predominantly about delivering the performance of the OPCC, delivering its current functions, the big statement from me is this is not happening until the middle of 2028. There's a significant time period both to continue to deliver our functions and support the PCC to deliver its responsibilities, but also there's a lot of time to plan and to, of course, offer reassurance. Now, any announcement like this can cause different reactions and cause anxiety and uncertainty for staff. Obviously, the key focus has always been both in the values set by the PC and the values are needed by the emphasis. We are here for public service that needed to go away. We've still got to deliver for our public and also deliver and build on the great performance that we've already been leading on supporting Wiltshire police and our communities to improve this.
And just to come back briefly, I'm sure I can speak on behalf of our other councillors. I mean, we will do all we can. I hope you and I trust and I believe to support you through this process, because I think would be the result of that would be the best outcome for people of Wiltshire and minimising that risk. So I think that's something that we need to be committed to as councillors as well.
Thank you. Agenda 7, please. Commission for Police and Crime Panel highlights and performance.
Well, you know, I'm always loath, Chair, to put PowerPoint presentations up. So and then as so many people do, they put up a PowerPoint presentation and then they just read off what's on the screen to you. So you've had an early sight of the police and crime plan, and at the very beginning there is a summary, and I hope you can see, if you, and as I am sure you have gone through it, that performance has generally continued to improve, and in particular the response times from the control and communication centre, the call centre, has also continued to improve. We have gone, as you know, we had the slowest response times in the country. We're now 12 out of 43, so that is a significant improvement. The one area where we are still not doing, we can do better, but the Chief Constable is fully aware of this, and has put in place the necessary remedial plans, which is called Phoenix, which is if we say investigations, what we are really talking about is the quality of the case files that Wiltshire Police produces to the Crown Prosecution Service. So, as I said earlier, I chaired the Wiltshire Criminal Justice Board yesterday, and I can see on that improvements are being made, but there is still some significant way to go in terms of educating, assisting, training our officers and the supervisory officers in terms of the quality of the file that we submit to Crown Prosecution. It is by no means a disaster. It was not particularly good 6 months ago, but because of the remedial measures that the Chief Constable has put in place, it is getting significantly better. So we are now subject to the Peel inspection, which will last for 2 weeks. And as you know, in my time, this will be the third Peel inspection by His Majesty's Inspectorate Constabulary HMIC FRS. The first one was shockingly bad. The second was middling. And I am confident that when we see the results of this inspection, we will be in the top quarter, perhaps. I am hopeful that we are going to get a good, I would like to think outstanding, but a good report, because the performance, as I hope you can see from this report, is getting better. We are making Wiltshire safer. Wiltshire does have the lowest crime rate per head of population in the country, and we are now the third most trusted police force in the country. So we are safer, people are feeling safer, and that is because we are trusted more than we have been for a long time. So a generally positive message, but I'm very happy to take detailed questions based on the report.
Councillors? Councillor Wilson?
Thank you, Commissioner. I have a question. Your report talks about the review, financial review to ensure balanced budget. And it says 80% has been now completed. You also delivered a presentation for all councillors where you were talking about financial difficulty, which we understand, and you were basically considering options in terms of reducing frontline officers. So I just want to check, so it's now there's 80% of your review has been completed. What options are you currently looking at?
The microphone. We are considering all options because it is necessary to do that until we receive knowledge of what the central grant is going to be. We still hope very much that we will, if we have to reduce the number of frontline officers, it will be the minimum. I've already talked about the fact that I am confident that Wiltshire Police Force has now winnowed out the vast majority of the fat that's in the system. But we are still beholden to consider all possible options, and we are looking at reducing. One of the options is that we will have to reduce frontline officers, we'll have to reduce PCSOs, we'll have to move officers that are currently in frontline roles into support functions. For example, desktop investigations within the CCC rather than actually being out on the front line. So we have no option other than to consider all options. And we will not be able to go firm on what they are until we know what the central grant is going to be. But we don't want to, of course we don't. You know, our preferred option is that we will be funded the way we would traditionally have been expected to be, whereby budgetary pressures were met by an inflationary increase to our budget. But that's not happened.
Yeah, I understand it. I was just wondering if this financial review has been able to make to pinpoint down the options to be a bit more specific.
It has, but there is no point revealing them at this stage. We have gone down to numbers based on budget reductions, and there is, a pretty wide spectrum, as you would expect us to consider best case, worst case. But there is no point revealing those until we know. Thank you.
Councillor Hawken.
Thanks, Chair. Through you, Chair. Philip, we've received some support in Salisbury for city centre security to help the police in evening violence against women and girls, that sort of stuff. That was done through the Safer Streets funding. I'm guessing that we won't know if there's any more money available for that until we receive the grant. Would that be correct?
No, the grant is quite separate. Safer Streets was additional funding that we managed to lean into the government to provide as an addition to the central grant. That is unlikely to continue. The Safer Streets Fund, so that might be in many ways a double whammy that we will have to manage.
So if we want to retain that service, we're going to have to lobby you fairly hard again. Is that right?
You can, yes.
We can try. All right,
And of course, we will always do our best to help.
Thank you, Chair.
Anybody else?
Just
Councillor
thank you, Chair. To the Commissioner, obviously, as you say, we are the safest country in England. I'm just wondering, and you do say that the public will a lot safer. I mean, how do we get this sort of message that the public are still safer and we are the lowest crime rate in the country? But as you know, we've always felt that reporting is the crime is underreported. How confident are we that public have the confidence and they are now reporting, and therefore we can still say we are the lowest in the country?
Yeah, I mean, that in many ways is the catch-22 question, isn't it? And one that we always ask ourselves. And I always relate it back to, in many ways, when I first was appointed as a PCC, and I would go out to area boards, parish council, and would be told there's no point reporting it because the police don't do anything about it. That very rarely happens now. How do we get the message out? Can we get the message out better than we are? And we discussed that in this forum before in terms of my press office, Wiltshire Police Press Office, your assistance, and through local government authority type organisations, whether that's parish, area, or Swindon Borough, Wiltshire Council, whether we can get that message out better. It is a constant challenge, and we can never really be certain what the real picture is, what people really think. But we can. It's a guesstimate, really based on the best information that we can gather.
Councillor Wilson?
Thank you. Just one more question. Can you tell us a little bit more about your plans to re-establish the strategic board for violence against women and girls? I would just like to understand how you plan to involve the local partners, especially local authorities.
I'm sorry, I do not have that detail. That is something that I can ask the Chief Constable, unless you do not.
Thank you, Councillor. I mean, as ever, you'll see obviously throughout the plan partnership is essential to delivering of the outcomes and work. So obviously through the community safety partnerships is the primary level work to build on the existing structure we already have as well around generally serious violence, but of course there's lots of work around domestic abuse and serious sexual violence as well with partners that's ongoing, whether that's domestic abuse and the services that we commission many of the services together or in a aligned way, and similarly around victim support and support to criminal justice service, as well as preventative services and also policing and authorities through housing. So that will continue. It's just about increasing that new focus again and making sure we've got real clear plans and updating. There's been a lot of progress, as you can see from the performance in that space. But of course, it's never enough. We need to do.
Councillor Buckner?
Yeah, so just going back to the reporting and the safeness of our county, I think it's probably fair to say that all of the police authorities have the same issue with people reporting crimes, and therefore we probably still are the third, regardless of how many are reported. But I think, Philip, you said that it's down to all of us to actually go out into our communities and encourage people, if they feel a crime has happened, to actually report that. So there's no point sitting here and saying to the police and fire commissioner, why aren't people reporting it? You should be saying to yourself, why aren't they reporting it? And you know, what are you doing, or what are we all doing to actually go to our communities and get them to report, particularly if we're working in communities that feel they're slightly different to other communities. But are we getting, how do you compare with other authorities and other police areas? If they're doing anything innovative to actually encourage people to report that we could encapsulate or build on?
I mean, thank you for the question. We monitor best performance across all police forces in order to be as innovative as we possibly can. And I would also say we are also pushing hard with IT, with artificial intelligence and robotics, so that we can better manage an increase in reporting, both intelligence and just general information. And in many ways, that's part of the business crime reduction plan that you'll hear about later, is putting in place a new app which will allow retailers to more quickly and more ably provide information, data, reports. But of course, the challenge then is, do we have the robotics in place to manage that additional information And we are pretty confident now that we do, and that's why we are trialing that in Salisbury. And you will hear, once we can make that work, we will hopefully roll it out across the county. But it is all dependent upon encouraging people to talk to us. And, you know, I talk to probably 2,000 farmers. I'm on Swindon Town WhatsApp group, the retailers. And I constantly have to say, when people report, have you reported? Have you reported? People, their first instinct should be to report crime. And to do that, they need to be confident that they will get an appropriate response. And that's what we are working on.
Councillor Smith?
Thank you. And for just reiterating what you just said there, with reference to technology and moving forward, is it not the case you don't feel that we should be moving backwards in some ways, going back to some of the more traditional policing methods? But we've actually got bodies on the beat, because they're by far the best intelligence, relying on technology and apps and artificial intelligence. I mean, I'm 63 years old, and I remember very much the Bobby on the beat, and he was by far the best intelligence gatherer ever of all time. Why are we not moving back towards something like that, rather than relying on technology?
If you're very welcome on this board, but if you've been here consistently over time, you would know that Wiltshire Police Force has made huge efforts to increase the number of bobbies on the beat. And we have done that through pushing more officers into the neighbourhood teams. And it is probably because of the effectiveness of what you are saying, the bobbies on the beat, that we have in the neighbourhood teams, why our crime stats are getting better and better. But we will always be looking for back office means of managing the officers on the beat. It's not to replace them, it's to manage the support functions, the back office functions that will allow us to have more officers on the beat. That is the concept that we're pushing.
The only thing I would say in respect that within my division, I can't remember the last time I saw an officer on the beat.
Well, I suggest you get alcohol.
Okay. Can I have the conversation outside if you want? Thank you. And Councillor Hennings.
Yeah, I was just looking at the 101 service and the response time on there, and the average time to answer the call was 42 seconds. And I just wonder, because I had to make a call to the 101 service, and I'm just looking through my phone to try and see when it was, but it was about 9 o'clock in the evening, possibly a Saturday. Can't find it at the moment, but I was on the line for an hour and 40 minutes. And I just wondered if that was, and it might have been September, possibly October, but then that would have, I mean, just that one call would have skewed that 42 seconds out of the window. So I understand there was high volume calls at the time. I did bring it up with the local sergeant, who said that is usually a time where there are a lot of calls on at that time. But, you know, it was, in fact, while I was waiting, I thought, I wanted to do it because I wanted to test the system, and it was a personal thing. I had to make a call, and in the meantime, I went online to try to report it online, and it kept coming back saying there was a problem online as well. So both ways, I was stymied, and you know, as much as I understand that there can be high call volumes, systems can go down, but if that was, it just seemed a bit that I was trying the system and it was really failing me.
I know there are cases when that happens, and the figures we give are an average, they're an aggregate, so there are some anomalies. And when that happens and it comes into my office, we have the previous superintendent from the CCC here. I will contact if you like, the supervisors in the call centre with the time that you rang in, and I will ask that specific question and come back to you with an answer, which I have done on numerous occasions. So I can't answer to that specific, but generally, that is exactly the point of having the PCC, is when something goes down like that, is to ask, and I will delve into the detail and come back with a response for you.
I think I just add to that, I think it is really important, obviously within the context we talked about, just didn't offer, the public being offered different facilities. So Q-Bus, which I know we've talked about for a period of time, is now in the force into which it's being trialled and tested, which is the callback facility you often get with many call centres. So you don't physically be waiting on that call, it will call you back. So again, it actually makes it all easier for all sides to manage that demand on the call centres. Also, the previous point around robotics, AI, management of CCC demand is vital around the benefits and opportunity that AI and robotics provide to allow operators to not have to double key on different systems, to be managing that numerous stress and actually to free up their time to answer calls and to deal with them more promptly. It's obviously vitally important. There's a lot of focus and investment going on in this space, and you are seeing that with those improvements in performance on average. But as the Commissioner said, there will be occasions where it's an emergency service and there will be high peaks of demand. Of course, we're trying to smooth those out so that the experience is as good as it can be during those high demand periods.
Just to come back if I may. Callback is great. Although, I mean, I'm sure we all get loads of calls, and now it comes down to mobile numbers. You get a mobile number, you think, well, they must be, because it's not coming up this suspected spam. And I answer, and it's somebody from, I don't know, Stairlift, double glazing, home insulation surveys, all that sort of thing. Is there any way that when police or do call back, it can come up on my phone as Wiltshire Police? Because I'm so often, I just look at it and I think, I know that's spam. I know it's spam, but it might not be, so I answer it. And it's a spam call.
Yes.
Yes, please come down.
No user ID.
Yeah, no user ID. Well, and it's I get so frustrated with all the spam, but not knowing when you're expecting a call.
Okay, move on.
Sorry.
Can you answer that for us?
I'll try and keep it succinct. So good morning, ladies and gents. Mark Lynch, I'm currently the head of local policing. As Commissioner stated, I was the head of contact management until very recently. So the Q-Buster, we're trying at the moment to go live this week, end of this week. We'll give the person calling the option. So it's not going to be automated. It will offer that opportunity throughout the entire duration that you're waiting on a call. So you will be aware that when you choose that option, that when you get a call back, that will be coming from the police. We've had this conversation only last week around, do we have it as Wiltshire Police? If there's a potential risk that if it's Wiltshire Police and it's for a domestic incident, do we want that to be displayed? But again, without going into the details, because we triage and assess calls coming in, we're quite comfortable that those that are going to be called back are going to be low risk. They're going to be non-DA, so therefore there should be no reason why we can't have a generic number that we recognise as Wiltshire Police.
That answers this question. Thank you very much. Right, Councillor Wilson.
Thank you. Yeah, I just wanted to comment on Councillor Henning's point, because I had a similar experience 2 weeks ago, actually. So I think it's more than just anomaly. I was waiting for 40 minutes to the point I gave up, and then I called again 101. So the second time, again, it took roughly about 40 minutes. Because what happened, resident called the officers, their discussion, they didn't log the report, and I called, and then again I had to go back to resident, he had to call, so eventually the report got logged. but it was very lengthy process. But eventually got logged now, the officers can work with the resident and deal with the case. So yeah, it seems like there's more anomaly. So what I think really would help with this queue buster, if I understood how long was the wait time, that would help me. So if I'm told, you know, there's likely you're going to wait for an hour, so I would probably call next day. But if you should just wait 10 minutes, then I'm happy to wait. So I think if you could maybe work on enhancing the queue buster function, that would be great.
Of course we will. I mean, we are continually reviewing all of our processes in order to improve performance, but and I'm not going to talk about resources or money or what we can afford, but we are continually trying to get better, of course.
Elisa?
Chair, I wanted to go back to the point of the victim care investigation, because we said right from the start that it's one of the areas that things need to get better. And on the last page of the report, it says investigations achieve the lowest outcome rate of 72.5% of all measures. Can you reassure us at the time of that victim care investigation will lift in depth? Because I think we go back at victim care, and victim will drop that reporting or referral measures, because yeah, they will feel not supported. But then I'm worried that perpetrators will turn into serial perpetrators, because again, investigations either are taking a long time, or the outcome is not what the victim is expecting. So what else can we do to look a bit more in depth
Yeah, I mean, thank you, Denise. It is obviously a huge challenge, and it is an area, it's a priority area for the Chief Constable, and for Wiltshire Police Force, investigations and victim care. It is becoming ever more challenging because of the stresses and strains on the criminal justice sector, and that we're having to look after victims for much longer, which is putting huge pressures on Horizon, which is our victim care process, which has impacted, which we've heard earlier, neighbourhood watch. So it is, it's an ever-changing strategic environment, and the finances change every minute. And I am very confident that we've got the leadership team in Wiltshire Police Force right now to deliver the best possible service that they can to victims with the resources that we've got. And it is my job on your behalf, and it will be for another 2 years, 2.5 years, to make sure that happens. And I am confident that Wiltshire Police is doing all that it can.
Final question, Councillor Monroe.
Thank you.
Move on.
Thank you, Chair. I think you mentioned that the court systems, there are lots of delays, specifically for domestic violence. Have you got any information how many trials are cracking? Because it's taken a year for the trial to come to court, and the victim is then saying, well, I don't want to go forward. And that's it.
I have all of that information, Eugene, which is presented to me as part of chairing the Wiltshire Criminal Justice Court. I can share that with you subsequently after this meeting.
All right, thank you.
Just on this, I'm just sending to Matt is actually there's a National Criminal Justice Board dashboard online, which actually provides all the Wiltshire information and all other areas. It's a range of court information. I think that's probably the best way for us to share it. Some criminal justice information I can share outside of our criminal justice departments. It's not our information to share. But that one, I think, is constantly looking. It's updated every month. So we're getting live information across courts and CPS and policing performance and sharing.
Sorry, can you just repeat that for me? First line.
There's a police performance. Sorry, there's a criminal justice system dashboard which I will share with everyone. You can access it.
Right. Just a final word. Overall, is a good report, but there's always room for improvement and can never stand still. So yes, let's, keep up the good work and see where it goes. Thank you very much. Right. Special Constable, number 8. Chief Inspectors Steve Jolly and Colin Conway. Please join us. Chief Inspector, Superintendent, are you joining us as well?
I'll let the Chief Inspector lead this one.
Okay. It's got your name on there, that's why. You can go.
Oh, so we're, sorry, my apologies.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
Good afternoon, everyone. Chair, councillors, thank you for speaking to you today. I'm Chief Inspector Stephen Jolly. I'm the Force Tactical Lead for the Special Constabulary. I also work on the harm reduction unit. So I just want to go through where we are with Special Constabulary and the value which our amazing volunteers give to the organisation. Thank you. Right, so as the Commissioner said, I don't want to just read off the slides here, so I'm going to put a bit of context around here. But that's our aim and vision. We want to give our special constables all the training support required to ensure they're fully equipped and competent to provide a service to communities of Swindon and Wiltshire. So what does that mean? We, rather than just training our special constables just to be response officers and just really provide limited support to frontline colleagues, we give them all the opportunities which our regular police officers have. So that's full training, given opportunities into other departments, specialist departments. We give them advanced training, which even some frontline officers don't have, because they can really support how we can actually provide robust policing throughout the county. I'll get to that a bit later on, but just to give you a little bit of a context around where we are with special constables as a nation. So nationally, in 2010, there were 16,700 special constables. In 2020, that attrition went down to 9,500. Currently this year, the nationwide picture is 5,534. So there's been significant reduction. So there are challenges in recruiting special constables and retention of them. And there's many factors for that. There's cost of living, different appetite for it. Many factors are in play. What I can say is that we at Wiltshire, we're really punching above our weight, and we're bucking that trend. So the vision underpins everything else in our plan. So it's from recruitment to training to operational employment and recognition of our special constables, and making sure they are represented in every area of the organisation. If you want to next slide, please. There's a lot of numbers and text on there, so I'll just go through some of the headlines for you there. So this slide goes on to vision delivery, how we'll measure success and the tangible contributions of our special constabulary. So our commitment is to ensure that specials deliver as many operational hours as possible. The minimum amount of hours we request from is 16 hours a month. A lot of them do significantly more than that. So our target for this coming year, our minimum, so we've got our minimum, our median, our stretch. The minimum is the absolute requirement. Our median is really what we expect, and our stretch is what we're really aiming to do by maximising resources. As you can see at the moment, we're looking at a minimum of 15,360 and a median of 38,400 and a stretch of 57,600. If we move to the final year of April 28, where we're looking at the stretch of 86,400, to put some sort of meat on the bones on that one. That would be an equivalent of 41 full-time officers and a saving or return on investment of £1.18 million in savings to Wiltshire Police. So that's what we're really trying to drive this at the moment. So it's about measurable impact, clear targets, strong accountability, and maximising value of our volunteer officers. The next slide, please. So that was a lot of sort of figures to look at, but it's more here for you. And once again, I'm going to put a little bit more context into this. So beginning of this year, we streamlined our special constabulary. We had several special constabulary officers who hadn't been active for 5 years. So rather than keeping them on the books, we approached them. We asked for reasons why they were no longer participating in any frontline duties. We understood anybody we could bring back into the organisation. We did. Lots of people had changes in their life circumstances, their reasons for wanting to do it. So at the beginning of the year, we actually removed 40 non-active officers, and that would then reset our baseline. What that meant is that we could then reinvest into what we had and really make some meaningful change. So underpinning all this, we have a fantastic team, a citizens and policing team. They do an awful lot of work on this. So our active specials has grown from 49 in January to 80 now. So that's when we say active specials, that's who are doing frontline duties. And that's a 63% increase in just 1 year. So non-operational numbers, they've dropped from 18 to 12, meaning we've got more officers available for deployment. Year to date, specials delivered 25,646 hours and completed 3,435 duties. So on average, as I said before, we asked for a minimum of 16 hours a month. But actually, on average, each duty lasts 7.5 hours, and each officer contributes about 30 hours in 4 duties. So our aim is to bring up to about 120 special constabulary officers, and that will be a manageable amount for us to enforce. We don't want to just turn that tap on, and when we can't actually look after the special constabulary we have. So that is our aim from this. Next slide, please. Thank you. So year to date, 3,100 duties completed, as I said before, nearly 24,000 volunteer hours delivered. The key headline there, this is this year alone, 427,449 return of investment of what would be the equivalent of more or less 15 full-time officers. So they've been to, this year, 4,138 instances, focus patrols. So that's primarily the patrols you see for which are governed by our neighbourhood policing teams for priorities. So that's them out on patrol, whether it be on foot or in car, adding that resilience to our frontline colleagues. And the total amount of critical dependencies that the incidents where we've solely relied on a special constabulary, 2,743. And those numbers I'm really proud of, because that's the investment in the training and skills that we give to our special constabulary. Other forces are more reliant on them just joining with response officers and being double crewed in the car. We actually have them as a directed patrol, and they actually have they can go out and do everything which all our regular officers can do. Next slide. So the latest updates, we have been quite heavily promoting this week our special constabulary, just to get out there with the fantastic work they do. We're doing a lot of social media work on there. So we have a current campaign going at the moment. That is live. It closes on the 21st of December, and the intake starting in March 2026. So far this year, we've had 30 special constables attested. But some of the work we've done, I say, with specialist units, just to explain some ways as well. We have specialist units in, and I'll talk on the next slide as well about our drone unit. So we have drone special constable officers. We have a special road safety unit, our SRSU. So our RPU, they are the special equipment on them. They have all the training. You would not know they are any different to the RPU. So if they turn up and deal with a serious accident, they're the same officers. They're wearing the white hats. They drive the cars the same. They can do some of the tactics. And we have a specials neighbourhood support team. They're dedicated specials working in neighbourhood teams, and they can assist with those patrols as priorities we're talking about. So our skills offering is really good for special constables. We offer basic driving and standard. We also offer response courses. We give them taser. IPP is initial phase pursuit. That's been recently added, so they can now pursue vehicles. There's some forces out there who recently, Gloucester, for example, they do not even allow their own regular officers anymore to pursue vehicles. They've changed their policy. We trust our specials with sufficient training. Going back to this, the SRSU, the Special Road Safety Unit, we are now looking to give them the advanced courses as well, which will be exactly the same as your road policing unit. So they can do what we call a TPAC, technical safety containment, and actually stop vehicles of high risk. At the bottom there, regional force transferring over to Wiltshire Police Special Constabulary. That suggests something's happened quite recently. I don't want to speak disparaging about any of the forces, but whereas we are growing and bucking the trend, other forces have done some reform which hasn't worked quite as well. We now have a regional force who are now transferring over 6 very highly experienced special constables who will be working predominantly in the Swindon area at this time. That just goes to show that they're looking elsewhere and they're seeing Wiltshire as a very attractive prospect. So I think these updates really show that we're building a stronger, more skilled and more integrated special constabulary. We just move on to the last slide. And these are just a couple of examples. So SBC Ken Bridgman, who works on the Special Road Safety Unit. He has been, he recently won the High Sheriff Award, 45 years of service to Wiltshire Police. Special Constable Damien Penman, he's our drone operator, and he's received a regional award for innovation in policing, and he's run up to Lord Ferris National Volunteer Award. The citizen policing team have also recommended him receive the British Empire Medal 2026. He provides so much service to the force that they are both fantastic officers, but they're not alone. We have a lot of these officers in the force. And I haven't put on a slide, but I just want to give you just a bit of example about something where we just really show the value of special constabulary. So on the 24th September was Employee Supported Policing Day. So that is a national local initiative where employees commit to supporting their staff to become special constables. We had 15 special constables active for ESP, so that was for reassurance patrols and priority taskings. When I say we're punching above our weight for a small force, Greater Manchester Police had 6, Hertfordshire had 4. So anybody who is local to Swindon or Wiltshire may recognise the 24th September. That was the Grand Royal Industrial Estate Fire. So that was a major incident, nationwide news. In fact, I think it's probably worldwide news. The first person on scene was a special constable. So if you ever seen the news, we saw dash cam footage of an officer arriving on scene. That's one of our special constables. So he did initial management of a major incident and coordination. On top of the 15 special constables already had on the ESP day, doing their reassurance and priority taskings, they were redeployed, and we then had another 9 special constables join us. So 24 special constables in total assisted with the Grand Royal Industrial Estate Fire. That included Damien, who ran the drone. All the drone footage came from Special Constable, and they the rest primarily worked on cordons, scene preservation, which, as you can imagine, then freed up the rest of the constabulary to actually do the work they needed to do. And that is everything from me. So, is there any questions? So I spoke an awful lot there, but I'm happy to answer any questions.
Can I just ask, we haven't had these slides? This be circulated to the panel?
Absolutely.
Any questions, members?
JFB. Going back to inactive officers.
Yes.
Did you say some have not been active for 5 years?
Yes, so we did have, we've been through what I can only describe as a journey. So like all forces, the focus has changed several years ago to how we operate special constables. So beginning of this year, we had 40 which were inactive, and anything up to 5 years, not all of them, but some of them, and they've gone off for various reasons. Maternity hadn't come back, changed. So that's when we have to have realistic conversations with them. Is this, can we draw you back into the organisation? Is there something which was stopping you coming in?
But what's in place now to stop it being 5 years before you go back?
Oh, no, absolutely.
And make it
So we have very robust governance structure in place now. So we have a citizens policing team. We have we've changed our structure. We now have a chief officer, special constable, and team leaders. So they do regular monthly check-ins with them. We are now recruiting a special constable coordinator who will then have regular meeting touch points, ensure their training is up to date, but we're monitoring it. So we now have something called duty, well, not have, we have duty sheets. We've had it for a while, but we're really invested in it, and now it's something we use, and we can see from month to month basis who hasn't done any duties, and they're accountable to us. So most times they'll explain, I can't do it on holiday, I can't do this. If any reason that drops off, but the team leaders will contact that person and see if there's any reason why they're not, and if there's any reason we can bring it back to.
Councillor Bucknell.
Yeah, two questions. Firstly, when you have the specials and the permanent police operating side by side, are they one team, or is there any? Do they differentiate between what some people might refer to, and I hate this term, is the policing on the cheap with three police? The second one is we've seen some lovely pictures there of the sort of white males. You know, how spread across the different sectors are the special constables? Do we have people from different backgrounds, females, etc.?
Sorry, could you just remind me your first question again?
The first question was about how, when you've got specials and full-time police working side by side, are they one team, or do people actually differentiate?
Yeah, absolutely. So there's different levels of training for special constables. They come through their career journey. Obviously, it takes them a little bit longer than a regular constable due to the hours they do in order to bring them up to what we call directed status, where they can actually go out on their own and the controller can direct them to calls. It would the ethos within the force is that we are one team. So the special constables, if they are depending on where they are aligned to or working with, if they are working on response, they will be aligned to response teams. They will go out with that response team, and they are essentially seen as a resource. Now, depending on their level of training, it may be that they can go out independently, or maybe that they then recruit an officer. They're absolutely seen as an equal. In fact, some of them, these, for example, the special roads safety unit, they have more training than some of our regular officers. So actually, when they turn up on scene, so our regular response officers, if they're dealing with a serious accident or an accident, and our special road safety units turn up, they would defer to them for the expertise. So yeah, not only they see as equals, in some ways they see them as experienced. The second question, absolutely, I understand representation and the concerns there. That's another drive we're doing. So we are holding, when we do our recruitment, we hold various drop-in centres in many diverse areas as we possibly can. And we put out the and try and get a mixed representation of female people from underrepresented communities. We do have some really good success stories. We've got, for example, we have a Turkish officer in Salisbury who does a lot of work with the Turkish community for us, and that then opens up the possibility of bringing more Turkish community officers who might want to do it, who often not normally have that association with police. We have our diversity is improving. It's not as we want it, and I would be misleading you to say that, but we are absolutely working on that to make sure we have adequate distribution.
Councillor Amin, please.
Thank you, Chair. Great return from the special, that's for sure. Obviously, good luck and remember specials. I know at one point, obviously, we had a target of about 500 specials.
Yes.
It doesn't, we are past 100. We pay better than 100 and get more out of them. Just want to say, I mean, it doesn't that we are training our specialists to a very high level. And obviously they can do this much everything at a very piece of the second. My opinion, I mean, that doesn't seem to be the thing in the PCSOs, where they are our trained officers and they are on the front end as well. I mean, if that's something we're looking at, we need to more training with PCSOs who can achieve the equivalent level of that.
The limitations of PCSOs is that they have the limitation of powers. They don't have the same powers even as other special constables because they're effectively civilians opposed to being wanted police officers. Unfortunately, I can't talk what the improvement in special in PCSOs. Unfortunately, I'm only here to speak about the special constabulary, but there would be issues in relation to their powers and limitations beyond that.
No, that's fine. I wasn't aware that they are normal civilian. That would be part of the police force.
They are part of the police force, but they're not warranted officers in the same sense, so they don't have the same powers as a police officer.
Okay, thank you.
Councillor Henning.
Yeah, I'm just thinking it's a good success story and well done. I think it's everybody around the table. It's up to us to try and promote special constabulary amongst the public. I certainly will in any communications I've put out, much like retained firemen, which I was asking a little bit about. I'm trying to encourage people to do that recently, but I think we should all be promoting special constabulary and report back, and especially Wiltshire's position in the country. I think it's very optimistic.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Councillor Wilson.
Thank you, Chair. I have a question about the onboarding process. So I would be interested to understand if you do collect feedback from the newly onboarded specialists, and also how often you would kind of review your processes based on the user feedback, in a sense. Recently, person I know very well joined, and I had a discussion with this person, and he mentioned that there were a number of opportunities to enhance that experience. So, for example, there are things like the sequencing of your checks, because some checks that are more strict that come later on, and they possibly, you know, if those checks are up front, that would enable better decision making for the person, considering their full picture of the circumstances. And also things like numerous trips to devices, so potentially they could be more streamlined. So you just would like to understand how do you kind of do continuous improvement?
Yeah, so when you say the checks, you mean vetting checks for when they are onboarded? Yes. I haven't got always the answers to those questions. It's something I can look into, but we are doing some work with the vetting department at the moment, and that's because for pretty much right, I think the very reason you're alluding to, that we've had people who actually started and may not have been suitable, and we need to make sure we have the right people in place. The training we have now taken on a second trainer, which means that we can now deliver that training a lot more efficiently and actually a bit more timely, and to a greater cohort of special constables. Going back to what I was saying about recapping from the 500 years gone by to 120, we need to make sure it's realistic in what we're actually achieving for them. And going back to the feedback, regular feedback is conducted through our citizen policing team. It's also something we can get better at. As you can see from the amount of increase we've done this year alone, we're on a journey. And that journey, I'm open to all suggestions, but absolutely we take the feedback, whether that goes through their peers or whether, such as the chief officer, team leader, or citizen policing team, but actually we're looking to refine both the onboarding processes as much as we can to make sure that the people are giving up their time in order to do this training, and also they come out and do some good work for us.
Yeah, and I'm not even sure what I mean by this question, but I mean, does the presence of special constables give, and this goes back to, I think, your question about, you know, is it just police who aren't being paid, or does it actually give us the opportunity to do something slightly different and have different influences and different skills within this? Now, just noticing one of your examples was around drones. Is that something that maybe could not have been done otherwise? I think that was one question. The other question was going back again to your quote about the diversity. When you say there are success, there are examples of success. How far away are we from having adequate representation and also female?
So the first point. For example, the drone team, we do have a dedicated drone team. You must be showing a very, very capable one, but they provide that additional resilience, and actually means that they can then deal with more incidents at once and provide us greater function of that role. We have the Naval Time Production that also has beyond special constabulary, which has a volunteer cohort who can actually do a lot more, so even in terms of administration. For example, administration of traffic process, so we do have volunteers beyond special constabulary as well. I don't have the figures to speak of for the actual representation at the moment. I'm sure it's something we can get across. See, my chief superintendent is now sat next to me, so I'm hoping he's going to save me.
If you don't mind, Chair.
Yeah, just put your mind.
Just to add
Chief Inspector, could you just take
if you say a little bit wider context. So the history of this is Wiltshire Police, as Steve has said, has been performing well, but there are many opportunities to improve what we're doing. The chief has set that to me to increase the numbers, but to make sure that it's a qualitative product that we're getting a really good return for service rather than just playing a numbers game. So there's a few questions just to answer on that. I think those that understand special constabulary, you will have career specials. So you'll have those that will have full-time jobs and they come in and to be honest with you, they're like the gold dust. They're the ones that you get the additional skills to training because you've got that continuity. Then equally, you have those that it's a touch point. They want to join the regulars, they want to join the police service, and it's a great opportunity. So there are opportunities around increasing diversity, the demographics of those joining. We want to make sure, because I've worked with Special Constabulary in Hampshire Police, I've worked with them in Thames Valley Police, so there's a lot of lessons learned there, that our recruitment pool is spread across the entire area so that we don't just get an influx into people in, say, for example, in Swindon, and then we're low in county. For the councillor earlier on, I remembered your question. So I'm a bit like you. Robotics AI is fantastic, plenty of opportunities there. But actually, what the public expects, what we expect, is that physically there are people out on the ground. The Commissioner has talked about the challenges financially. We want to protect the front line. So the Special Constabulary uplift gives us that advantage that we can bring really good people in, get the vetting done early, and we're working with recruitment on that, that we can put them out and spread them out where they're needed the most. So you've got that visible presence across the entire area rather than concentrated in one location. And just the one comment from me, I'm doing Swindon football versus Cheltenham. And again, to give you an example, the tangibles of what we get. So as a silver commander, I've got special constables doing the drone team. I've got special constables doing the prisoner transportation. I've got special constables doing the CCTV. I've got special constables on the ground doing the licensing. So they are invaluable, but it's really important that we invest the time and effort and look after them and get the best from them.
If I could just on the vetting, we are looking at vetting not only within Wiltshire Police, but regionally and nationally. We spend a lot of time, a lot of money, and we can do a lot better and streamline the vetting processes that are currently in existence. And I think there are probably 43 different vetting systems in the 43 police forces. We can amalgamate to do a lot better on that to assist. If you think some of the specials have got more skills than some of the regular officers, we've got drone pilots, one who's flies a jumbo jet when he's not flying one of our drones. You know, we've got a drone pilot who, the one that was up, we saw his photograph, who has his own IT company, who is an absolute whiz kid when it comes to IT. He has given us the capability to use drones to locate mobile phones as long as the Wi-Fi is on. That means we can be even better than others in terms of helicopters, fixed wing, in terms of local finding of missing people. So they bring in all sorts of extra skills that we can benefit from collectively. So they're absolutely brilliant. And I just love it. When we had the, I'm not going to say disturbance in town, and we had people waving Palestinian flags and Union Jack flags, and you know, we had the drone team next door, and I sat with them for half an hour watching what was going on, and we had coverage of everything. It was absolutely bloody brilliant, and it meant that the officers on the ground were positioned precisely where they could have best effect in terms of just keeping a steady hand on the situation as it was. So they are a huge asset. And thanks very much for the presentation.
Thank you very much. Right, so agenda 9, retail crime. You received a presentation about the efforts to tackle retail crime. Who we got on? Jennifer, Steve.
So this is Well, certainly for those who are from Swindon will know Carly, who has been running Wiltshire Police Force for longer than I, sorry. and Lou from Warminster, for his retail crime, and then from my team, which is trying to coordinate all that we're doing in terms of retail crime reduction partnership. So over to you, I guess.
So firstly, thank you very much for the invite. I'd just like to introduce you to two further colleagues as well who are here to help today. So we've got Steve and Steve, who...
Steve who?
So we have Steve Melville and Steve Davis.
Thank you.
I remember Steve Davis.
And so hopefully between us we'll be able to, well, we will be giving a presentation and any questions after, we'll have a number of us to be able to help with the answers to those.
Thank you.
So we're just going to start. I'm going to hand over to Carly straight away, if that's okay. And we're just going through some of the data basically that we have to start with. We can move on to the next slide, please.
Okay, thank you very much. So my name is Carly Nesbitt. I'm the Chief Inspector in Swindon, in charge of neighbourhoods and partnerships. And thank you. And part of our work is also that long-term problem solving. So I am also one of the tactical leads for business crime. So just looking at the slides there, it's quite difficult to read, but I will just go through the highlights. So Councillor Ali, you mentioned earlier on, there are some areas of improvement that we still need to do, albeit we are performing well. One of the areas here that you will see is just shoplifting. So you'll be well aware of the social economic climate that we're currently in, and we have seen a rise in shoplifting offences, in particular for us in Swindon, and Lou will be able to talk about the county context, a rise in serial offenders as well. So if we look, and we've got September statistics here, there were 288 reported shoplifting offences in September 2025. That is throughout the county, not in any one particular place. That is an increase of 7.7 year on year. The volume of recorded shoplifting in Swindon has increased 13.5 year on year, whereas the county have recorded an increase of 3.2. So if we just look there, the increased areas, and you will appreciate, being county-wide, we do have several different locations, different hubs throughout the county, but Chippenham, Amesbury, Warminster, Swindon and Salisbury have all seen an increase in their shoplifting offences. It's worth mentioning, particularly with Swindon, Salisbury, Chippenham, we've got very distinct retail locations at those premises as well, which will account for some of the increase. We're also aware that in Swindon, as you will have in Salisbury and some of the bigger places, it's just not concentrated in one area. So when we look at it in terms of targeting, it's very difficult sometimes that it's not just the town centre. There are several large retail parks that we then also have to bring into contention and do our tactical responses to. We also, yeah. Yeah. So our outcome rate, our FAT, which is further outcome, further action taken, has gone up in relation to shoplifting and is at 2.3% up, which is at 30.3 in the last 12 months in terms of further action taken. So this could be charge, this could be caution, this could be out of court disposals. Use of out of court disposals, and we obviously spoke about restorative justice earlier, there has been a small increase in relation to shoplifting, up to 1.6%, with 5.1% of shoplifting offences being resolved by out of court disposals in the 12 months. Outcome 16, that is where we have basically taken no further action because there isn't the evidence or there isn't the complaint progress. That is actually decreased by 1%. With 2.7% of shoplifting offences being resolved by outcome 16. What we do recognise is that theft offences, particularly shop theft, may often go unreported, and we spoke about this earlier when we spoke about the wider reporting of crime. If we go on to the next slide, there are several initiatives at the moment that we are taking action on, taking place, which will enable us to hopefully encourage more consistent reporting, improved intelligence sharing and strengthen preventative measures. We recognise that we need to build trust and confidence within our retail community. Some of that is with not just our action, but also how we report on those things. If we get that, yes, we will probably see an increase in shoplifting, but that is because people are more likely to report it. So it's a bit of a double-edged sword. So our tactical and operational responses, SABA is the Safer Action Business Week. So that happens every year. We've recently taken part throughout the force area, which was 2 weeks ago in relation to that. So in Swindon, I've got the Swindon certificates. I don't know if you've got any particular for county, but during that week, we visited over 55 stores in relation to crime prevention advice on retail crime. We also did a number of events at Bridgemead Green Bridge in the outlet centre with our mobile police station. We've had 5 arrests in connection with retail crime, done numerous leaflet drops and high visibility patrols. We've also done some test purchasing operations for vapes and knives with our shops as well. Unfortunately, we did have 3 stores fail for selling vapes. We worked in partnership with Trading Standards for that. Some high visibility patrol in the town centre. And just going on to a little bit of what Steve spoke about, our specials. They visited 25 retail premises, did stop searching, seized an e-bike, and did numerous hours at our various retail parks, providing that support to our frontline policing. So that is the concentration just for 1 week, but I would like to give reassurances to the panel that it's just not that 1 week where we focus on retail crime. So you will see operations stabilise there, third down on the left-hand side. So we have recognised that retail crime is an issue, and also it is something that has been highlighted through the government, through the neighbourhood policing guarantee as well. They have named one of their pillars as a retail crime. So Operation Stabilise is our force-wide response to retail crime. It's only just started. We're not just looking at the high visibility patrol, it's a wide-reaching approach. So as part of that, we're also looking at our serial offenders. How do we deal with them? And Lewin County and my colleague David Tippett in Swindon has set up the civil orders panel. So what we're looking at now is our serial shoplifters, instead of just sending them to court. What we're also looking is, can we put a civil order on them in the form of a community behaviour order, which will have positive as well as negative obligations. So as well as you can't go to a particular area, it's also you must engage with drug and alcohol treatment services, things like that, to try and give them that form of intervention and support to deviate away from some of those causes. We will also be looking at the reporting mechanism, how people report crime, how we link into national operations, because of course we have people who travel to Swindon. Our routes into Swindon are very good, and further on down the south in the county, of course, you've got the 303. So there's those things to consider as well. But also just linking into the wider work. So Jen will speak about it in more detail, but just around our business crime reduction partnerships. So some of you would have seen the launch recently in Salisbury. Swindon at the moment are looking towards a business improvement district, but what we're looking to do is engage with the shops and get some form of network up and going so we can actually share our intelligence, have that communication going. So Stabilise is a massive piece of work. I have somebody dedicated solely to business crime in Swindon, who will be sharing the practices, the learning, and some of the work with county as well. So, and that's come through the neighbourhood policing guarantee, which we've mentioned there. Ops Sacramento is something that we do where we target hotspots. This could be in relation to retail crime or other activity where we flood an area with officers and plain clothes, and also high visibility, and we just disrupt as much as we can. Sector is knife crime. So last week was hot sector, where we did some work around the shops. Because again, crime prevention is really important. Yes, we can put a policing response in, but what we'll be doing in this stabilise as well is working with the retailers to try and improve their crime prevention. So don't put your high value goods near the door, for example. Consider what other security you can have there as well. Dasher is a force-wide operation during the month of December, where we have dedicated nominated officers in our retail areas, providing that high visibility patrol, reassurance, looking for things not quite connected to the retail crime, but things like purse tips, giving that public reassurance as well, which we tend to see an increase during the lead up to the festivities. Public space protection order, Swindon has one now in the town centre. Don't know about county, if you've got any, I think you might have one in Salisbury. So, yeah. There to, again, trying to reduce that antisocial behaviour, making town centres feel safer. Operation Diamond is our response to nighttime economy. We tend to think of retail crime being during the daytime, but actually we have those two faces for us because we have our businesses and our nighttime economy to deal with as well. And then Operation Vigilant, again, is just looking at sexual perpetrators, but again, it's getting officers on the street, making the area safer for people to use, and that could be daytime and nighttime. And very much our community engagement. I would admit to being at Swindon centric because that is my role. In our town centre, for example, we have increased our number of town centre officers from 1 about 2 years ago up to 6 currently, just dedicated neighbourhood officers to the town centre, which is a vast improvement. And they provide that community engagement out and about, that visibility. And through the neighbourhood policing guarantee, we have seen an increase in our officers throughout our neighbourhood teams, who should also assist with that community engagement. You'll probably be aware of the hotspot funding and safe streets, and I heard you mention earlier, Councillor, just about some funding for wardens, etc. That has happened in different places throughout the county. So those are all our things that we're putting in place currently in order to try and tackle retail crime, but also make our town centres safer, not just the retail crime, but that safety element around our town centres. So that's me.
Just going to invite my colleague Steve for the next slide, and these are focusing on the areas that you see there that are asterisks. So 2 seconds.
Cheers now.
Yeah, thank you. Just a little bit of history. I think you mentioned, Councillor mentioned safer streets, which is a terminology that the current government's taken on, but previously it was safer streets at many different rounds. We reached round 5, and that attracted funding, central funding. We successfully did £1 million of funding, various kind of innovative projects. We were supporting sex workers in outreach work in Swindon, youth workers up and down the country, CCTV in hotspot areas, some innovation around Crime Stoppers in an area in Swindon to increase reporting. Lots of these topics we've talked about, meetings gone on. That funding stopped after 5. There's been no update on whether that will continue, but they've kept the terminology, so Safe Streets Summer, which didn't come with any funding, unfortunately, but was more of a kind of take stock. What are you doing? Let's be more innovative. Let's be more effective, more efficient with our resources. So up and down the country, police forces like to take stock. What are you doing over the summer? These are your issues. Where are your problems? Who are the problem people? What are you doing about it? We report back to them. There was lots of police response to that, much which Dolly has mentioned. And it's part of the Safer Streets mission, as it says up there. There was ASB hotspot funding, so we were tasked to break up the county into 200-metre hexagons and detail it in those hexagons. What problems are we having, and then target those specific areas with an appropriate response. In between Safer Street Summit and the next government initiative, Winter of Action, we took on Safer Business Action Week. And particularly the OPC's office had a focus on Salisbury as we were launching the BCRP there. So we drew all sorts of partners, not just the police. We had the RMP involved. We had Salisbury Sir Optimists involved. Drug and outreach workers, youth workers, retailers, anyone I could think of really, dragged them in, gave them the opportunity to say, this is what we're doing, would you like to be involved? Would you like to benefit from the comms campaign that the OPCC's office put out and which the council put out? To demonstrate to the public that there is a lot of work going on. We do care about retail crime, we do want safer streets, and in particular in Salisbury, it was proved to be really effective at bringing different partners together. It's something we'd possibly like to do in other areas, just to bring a focus on an area of the world and bring partners together and raise awareness between partners, who's out there and who they can assist and learn from. We're moving into winter of action, and 1st of December, much of what the police were doing in Cardiff was already mentioned. Again, it's a focus on partnership. There's no funding from the government for this. It's just tasking us to be more effective, more efficient, work together better and closer, and make best use of the limited resources, which is what we're doing. Chief Inspector Jolly has prepared the brief for the Home Office on what is planned from Wiltshire Police, and that will be submitted at the end of this week.
You can go to the next slide, please. Also, you'll be pleased to hear this is where I come in. So one of the areas that we have been speaking quite a bit about is business crime reduction partnerships. And essentially, these are really a partnership-based approach to preventing crime and disorder. At its simplest, it really is an intelligence gathering and information sharing system that enables the effective prevention of crime and disorder. This work was very much highlighted in the Police and Crime Plan as to how we wanted to do that, and through the guidance of the Commissioner. We have now worked across county, and we were pleased to kind of say, and I believe some of you may have been present, that the Salisbury BCRP in conjunction with Salisbury BID was launched 2 weeks ago yesterday. That was a successful partnership where basically we have been able to link with the BID and then create a wider kind of partnership around sharing information to really target kind of shops and areas which need additional support. In terms of what's coming next on that is the police, CSPs and the OPCC. We are now connected with the Swindon BID Shadow Board and looking to work with how they're progressing both on the BID area of it and also in their safe and secure kind of section there. So how we can kind of come in and support them with that. And as Carly suggested, this is all to do with Op Stabilise as well. Further to that, Trowbridge and Chippenham have also expressed an interest, and we have commenced engagement. The creation of BCRPs does support both the BORS and PCC plans, as well as the wider community partnership objectives. And as we've highlighted here, our aim is to kind of create a Swindon and Wiltshire BCRP. If we move on to the next slide, I just want to highlight how we work in partnership to achieve this. So via the community safety partnerships, we're able, under their safer communities elements, so we've highlighted on the slide both Swindon and Wiltshire, how these conversations basically are all drawn together. So we have that kind of cross-organisational conversation also involving our businesses. Further down on to the right, we have our local meetings included, and this kind of shows the conversations that we're having both as separately as the police and then also police and partners. So these include kind of demand boards, business plan tactical meetings, local authority tasking meetings. Salisbury has its own BCRP tactical meeting, and there's also the BCRP delivery group within it. And as highlighted, they fit into the CSP structures where we formulate our partnership response to this. So that's our current overview. So are there any questions from anybody?
Yes, Councillor Hay.
Thank you very much for all of the information and that work. I'm a little bit Amesbury centric here when I saw Amesbury written up there, and I'm a councillor and a town councillor for Amesbury. And I'm a bit surprised to see that we've got the second highest 24% increase in retail crime. I just had a quick look at my police report that went to the town council. They didn't mention this. And I was wondering at the Chamber of Trade, which is a very active Chamber of Trade, and whether they're aware of this, because this is something we've been discussing with the Chamber. And so in terms of local engagement, is there more that we can do, or you can do, or we can do together to make sure that we're actually working on that as a local town council, but also as the local chamber we're increasingly involved with? And so I just wondered, why was that a surprise?
So it shouldn't be a surprise because so I have obviously county lead for retail crime, so I oversee 7 MPT areas. So though I am the neighbourhood inspector, and that's my local area, which I cover being invisible, I also deliver and have to guide the other inspectors for the other areas around retail crime. And I suggest it should be a priority for each area, and it should be coming up in your local reports and should be discussed, and these numbers should be presented to you, and it will be now, because it's a massive drive and something I push when I meet with the other inspectors and we discuss, and there's a lot of activity that goes on in the other areas and Amesbury. Just with the reports, I don't like crime at all. I'd rather not have any shoplifting offences, but it doesn't surprise me that they've increased, mainly because we've done a lot of work over the last 18 months around building that trust and confidence back with the retailers. And also, there's a lot that still goes underreported, so this probably is nowhere near what it should be. But yes, at the moment, I think it's Caroline who's doing the acting inspector down in the Tigler Amesbury area, because the Gav's not here at the moment, so I will speak with Caroline and just kind of make sure that comes up in conversation, because it comes across. So next week, so I go to 3 area boards for my area, and there is a slide on retail crime and our shoplifting and what
you've got that.
Yes, yeah. And what can be done, because we work very closely with our town council. They fund a few things for us. They fund shop watch and radios. And we've got a great CCTV network. So most of our outcomes are because we work with our town council really closely. So yeah, so I would expect that same happening in the other areas. So I'll speak to Caroline and I'll make sure that's spoken about.
Thank you. Can I just ask one other thing? Follow on. It's different. You mentioned out-of-court disposals, and I mean that can take a variety of forms, and I was wondering what form it takes when it comes to shoplifting. Is there something put in place as an alternative to going through the court process, or is it just that it doesn't go through the court process?
Yes, so the out-of-court disposals, obviously, community resolutions. There are, I don't have it with me, but there are different courses people can do now. So there are some dedicated to shoplifting and the effects of shoplifting, and courses they can go on. I don't have the names in front of me, and I should have probably brought a piece of paper, but there is courses dedicated to shoplifters, but also around if there's ever elements around, I suppose, drugs and alcohol, that connecting with them. So yeah, there are other measures that go in place, and there's a lot more work back. So it's not just like you're banned from the store or you've got to pay the money back. There is a lot more intervention. That's probably what I'm looking for around what we can do now with our disposals.
Because there could be a reason behind the shoplifting, which could require further interventions, and I'm just wondering the extent to which that's followed up.
Yeah, and that's where the criminal behaviour panels come in, which I chair in counties. So we look at offenders and why they're offending, and before we stick any orders on them, we have meetings with partners, so drug, alcohol, probation, homeless, housing. Everyone comes to that meeting and we discuss kind of why they're offending and if they can be put in place to kind of stop that, and if that's because they're homeless or because they need food, or so that is all looked at.
Christmas coming up.
I agree with that. Yeah.
Thank you. Elisa, please, first.
Thank you, Chair, and thank you for your presentation today. You said that some of the crime go underreported, and my question is, what is the best way of reporting the retail crime? Is it by ringing 101 or reporting it online? And what are the retailers' feedback? What is preventing them from reporting?
I'll start just from a really local level, and it just comes back to what the gentleman council was saying down there. That bobby's on the beat. So for me, I need to get those officers back in the streets engaging with those retailers, because they don't have the trust firstly, they don't have the trust in the police to report those crimes because they don't think they're doing anything about it. So that was the first barrier. So the more we've got into those shops, the more they realise we're on their side and we will deal with it. And it doesn't matter how small. We hit someone arrested someone for £9 shoplifting offence, and we've got them to court for that because they were known. So there's this myth that we can't do that kind of thing, but we can. It doesn't matter how level it is. So it's building those bridges back up. Also, the shops are very, very busy. So their barriers are that we're too busy to report the crime because we're actually have to have the store, we've got to do stock taking, and we're doing this and this and this, and we're sometimes a solo person. So down in county, we have smaller shops in some areas, so it's only 1 or 2 people working in them, so they don't have the time, and that's not, they've got to do their job, so that's not on their kind of list of things to do to report the crime to us. It's difficult as well because the 101, the feedback is the 101, the online crime report, but this is where, I'm probably going to bring Stephen to this section, this is where we're trying to build up the partnerships in the BCRP, so formulate a kind of a database where it's easier to report. I'll hand over to Steve for that.
Yeah, so as I think you raised earlier, when you were trying to report something, you were trying to do 101 and also try to go online. Both systems should work perfectly and be smooth, but and you're doing one crime or one incident. So to you, having to go through that might be a bit of a slog, but you'll do it because it's one. Where you've got retailers, they've got many, many crimes they're going to have to report through the week, unfortunately. So we're looking at the system, and this is what we're trialling in Salisbury with the bid. The bid had a system that they were using called this. Now, that's a great system for putting information on. It'll produce a package where you can see where the crimes are taking place, or where the incidents are taking place, rather. What we've switched on with them is the direct reporting, where they can escalate those incidents. So they've got one place to put their ASB, they've got one place to put their crimes on. They can go on there, it remembers their details, it's quick, they can leave it halfway through, go back to it, which you can't do with the Home Office reporting system, and you can actually work the way through. And that's when we're sort of anticipating to make it easier for the retailers to report. Problem we have is that even if we're making it easy, I don't want to blame the retailers here, they're not doing it for whatever reason they're not doing it. That may well be, as Lou's alluded to, the fact that they're busy. They're not given time to do it. It is not, even with large stores, head office's concern is sales. It's not reporting thefts. It's about selling product, not about reporting crime. They will go on to national TV and complain about the fact that all these crimes are taking place. But we've had incidents in the last week, I was speaking yesterday about it, where George Street Mall in Salisbury, the security there done an excellent job detaining shoplifters from the stores who have put it up on their radio system. They've taken the product off of the identifiable people. Let's face facts, shoplifting should be 100% solved detected crimes because it's where we get the best evidence with CCTV witnesses, all of it, but we're only getting 30%. And the stores aren't reporting it. They get the goods back, and they're not even when we made it easy for them, or easier for them, they're not reporting. And that's what we have to change. And, you know, Bill can't get companies to force them to report stuff, but we can ask is that just give the time to the staff to actually go report it, give them time to go to court, to support the police, because this is a partnership approach. Police can do as much as they can, the councils can chip in and help. Businesses need to step up as well. So it is very much, we are trying to make it as easy as possible for people to report, because it's that 10% of people are causing 90% of the problems. And if we can get that 10% through the panels that are both held in county and in Swindon, we can change that behaviour, move away from crime, then we're going to start seeing some successes. But it's very much a case of we make it easy for them, just trying to do it.
Yeah, if I could just add a little bit to that. So chairing well, being on a Chamber of Commerce board in Trowbridge not so long ago, like 2 or 3 weeks, one of the retail chains there, part of a big national chain, said that in the last 3 months they'd lost £72,000 worth of goods through shoplifting in their store. And I said, have you reported it? No. Have you done anything about it? No. Wouldn't it be wise to invest some of that £72,000 in your own security? I mean, it's like by working better with people and through the BID and the Business Crime Reduction Partnership, we can all do better. It needs to be joined up more than it is at the moment. So we can really tackle this, which is an epidemic across the country.
I'll just add to that, Commissioner, is we need to highlight that retailers are not coming up and reporting this, and then they are blaming the police haven't done anything about it. So I think we need to highlight those things.
Yeah, thank you, Jed. It is something that we can do when we communicate with them and get them together. I have to say, some are brilliant. Some of the bigger supermarket chains invest significantly in their own intelligence systems and put in place store security, but others don't. So it is something that we will work on within council.
Thank you. Councillor Wilson, please.
Thank you, Chair. First of all, thank you so much for the presentation. It was very detailed, so it's much appreciated. It's one that we all know that we have a problem when it comes to digital crime. It remains a problem. So 30.5% year-on-year increase. It's probably higher because many crimes are unreported. We had a discussion about the issue at full council last year. We then sent a letter to the PCC. So it's positive to hear that it remains high on the agenda and recognize the significance. Carly, you mentioned business improvement district that's been set up in Swindon. So could you tell us a bit more? What does it entail?
Shall I take this one?
You can take this.
Okay, so the reason we went to Salisbury for our pilot on this is because they had a bid. And bid is, 4 steps towards the BCRP. So what does the bid do? The bid is, part of it is safe and secure. The bit that the BCRP is looking to deliver. Other parts of it is about promotion of getting footfall into the town centre. If you have a very quiet town centre, anything goes on there, you are going to feel a little bit threatened. And if you get more people in, greater prosperity for the town. So currently, Swindon, and again, I'll probably speak with the Swindon councillors here, Swindon are looking at getting a bid established in Swindon. Their timescale is very, very tight. They're due for April. So that's going to be a very select area, much the same as in Salisbury. It's only going to be a number of roads. It's not going to encompass the whole of Swindon. So the challenges there and opportunities for the BCRP, which is obviously my main concern, is what I'm trying to get in, to step in and help out and link in, because it is a partnership approach. I think we've all said that it's about working together. Knowledge is power, knowing who's doing what, and where it's very disappointing when you've got stores where the prolific offenders are going in and stealing. That's great evidence for us to get CBO as a group, because we provide the evidence, and when that evidence is not there because they haven't bothered to report it, it's very disappointing. So that is going on in Swindon at the moment. Are they going to get it? Well, I can't say. I'm not an expert for bids. I'm not even an expert at BCRP, which is what I've been working on really for the last year and a half. So they may get it. If it comes in, we will definitely work with them, because it is the same goal at the end of the day. We are looking to reduce crime in town centre, make people feel safe in the daytime and the nighttime economy. You've got hospitality, you've got retail, and you've got the ASP. Those are the three things we're going to look to tackle with the BCRP. We won't be putting on events to attract people into the town centre. That is very much a big focus thing. But it's all about increasing footfall, getting reduction in crime in town centres in the areas that have been active.
Yes, I just add a tiny bit to that. So you did have a bid in Salisbury when I first became a PCC.
In Swindon.
In Swindon, sorry, in Swindon. I don't know if it's said to me, but it collapsed. It is a commercial arrangement whereby the retailers buy into a corporate body of coordinating functions. So it takes some time to set up because it's a commercial arrangement, but when it is set up, it means we all buy into delivering specific functions within that corporate partnership. And that's what makes it work, because people have to pay a little bit into it. And for example, pay for the disc, which is an app on their phone that shopkeepers can then use to report every crime, because it's very quick and very rapid to do, rather than going through the single online home system, which is cumbersome, but it's dictated by the Home Office. And, you know, I have huge sympathy with you know, a corner shop owner who's sitting there with their laptop trying to report the crime while people are nicking from the front of the shop. Doesn't work. We need to speed up that process, and that's what we can do by establishing, make the bid work in Salisbury and then roll it out across the county. And there are various moves going on within Swindon Borough Council. I think there are 2 competing bids at the moment, but that we need to work that through the community, through the safety partnership.
So just extending from that, so as we've discussed, the bid will be, you know, a defined geographical area. But you will know that Swindon is much more than just a town centre, so we've got several large retail parks. So we're being ambitious, which is why we've dedicated a sergeant to business crime. And our ambition is to actually have that network go beyond the town centre. So whilst the bid might be there, looking at a BCRP, that will encompass Greenbridge, it will encompass Orbital, Designer Outlet, all those different places. So that's what we're working to, and even extending it further beyond retail crime. We have opportunities within Swindon, and Councillor Harry has seen some of the presentation before, because we presented at the Policy and Performance Committee.
Swindon.
Yes, for Swindon, and we're aware that there are other things going on with Swindon in terms of regenerating the town, bringing other businesses in, which of course has already happened. So for us, supporting those businesses is vital, because we also recognise that people like Zurich, who have already offered, can go into that retail prime space and support some of that, making the town centre better as well. So it's not a small piece of work, but again, working you know, with the council on those pieces to improve areas of Swindon, but to have that wider network, that's the long term aim.
Thank you. Councillor Hawking.
Chair, thank you. I work relatively closely with the bid in Salisbury, and if you'd like an example of how it actually works, I'm quite happy to put you in touch with the chairman of Salisbury bid if you'd like to have a chat and see it's working. I don't think in Salisbury they've been ambitious enough. I think they could do more, but I'm hoping they will. But the bid have a ranger, Andy, and he will tell you around shoplifting. The 80-20 rule certainly applies. 80% of shoplifting is committed by 20% of the offenders. They are serial offenders. And the reason that he spends most of his time, 80% of his time, chasing these serial offenders is 2 reasons. One, it's too easy. Philip, you mentioned it just now, where the particular, I'll name the shame, Sainsbury's, have no security. And at 9 o'clock in the morning, the people wander in, they want a bottle of vodka today, they go for drinks, they take it and they walk out. There is nothing to stop them. And he'll also tell you that there's no sanction. People do it time and time and time again, and they come back and back and back and back, which is why people have given up reporting it. So if you went back to your statistics, 288 incidents or 268 incidents across the county in a month, that's 9 a day. I suspect that happens 9 times in one day, just in Salisbury all by itself. Yeah. So it is, underreported would be an understatement. I think in this case, it's a pretty serious thing. But actually, my question is a little bit deeper than that, because there's a bigger problem with retail crime on the high streets, and that's with some retailers. Now, we know there are issues with organised crime, and we know there are issues around people smuggling and drugs and illegal cigarettes, and we know the establishments in which those organised crime groups are operating. And I think that's a much bigger problem on the high street than the serial shoppers because that we have. And I'd like to know what we're doing about that, because at the moment, organised crime is on the high street and it's all around us. What are we doing to weed that out?
Lou does have contacts nationally now with the intelligence services about those travelling criminality and the OCGs. You also just mentioned there about immigration. So I don't know if the panel is aware that Wiltshire has been the first police force to successfully implement co-working with immigration services. So they permanently work at Gable Cross. And because of that, the number of operations, successful operations that we've done with immigration, and we've had a number within a particular area in Swindon where we have gone into retail premises, also working with council colleagues, trading standards, etc., looking at that organised criminality has been really successful. But for Wiltshire, immigration are having more successful jobs in Wiltshire than they are in the entire of Wales. And that is due to them being permanently embedded at the police station and saying we're the first force to do that. They will go further into county, there's the spreading further than just Swindon, but we now have other polices wishing to do that as well. So we are aware, again, about travelling criminality, that OCG, it's the intelligence picture. So hopefully that will come in. I don't know if you've got anything further to add on that, Lou, at all. But we are linked in with those different ones, and it's something we're cognizant of. But sometimes our local policing resources aren't capable of dealing with that organised criminality threat, which is when we then need to identify it and escalate that up to units that are more capable of dealing with it.
Yeah, I'll add a bit to that. Having spent the last 50 years trying to get inside terrorist networks and understand how they work better so we can take them down, starting with Wiltshire Police Force, we started Operation Ragwort, which is a regional collaboration to tackle county lines. We've started, Operation Scorpion, which is going on this week, which is all 5 police forces in the southwest to tackle county lines. We've got Operation Ragwort. We make a significant contribution to the regional organised crime unit. I will be with the ROCU and the other PCCs in the southwest on Thursday. I also deal nationally through various organisations with the National Crime Agency, because, as I've briefed the panel before, if you swim far enough up these networks that are challenging us in Wiltshire, for example, some of the county lines dealing with artificial opiates, if you swim far enough up those county lines, you'll get to China, you'll get to Russia, who are doing the money laundering through bitcoins. So having that comprehensive understanding of the way these networks work is really critical. And I was really proud of the way the Chippenham neighbourhood police team, maybe a month ago, identified some modern day slavery going on in a nail bar, but rather than jumping in and busting that nail bar, reported it, and then it was elevated. It became a regional, then national collaboration and investigation. And eventually, because of that great work done by the neighbourhood team in Chippenham, Wiltshire Police, the ROCU and the National Crime Agency actually took down a serious network that was centred, based, headquartered in Leicester. So there is a huge amount that is going on. What we are dealing with is the end of the tentacles, but what we really want to try and do is get inside the networks and take them down wholesale. So it is not something that we talk about hugely because it then takes us into a very classified world of how we are doing that and the technical and the human sources that we use. So I can assure you that Wiltshire Police Force is fully aware of the nature of the serious organised crime networks and is working pretty hard to get inside them to take them down.
Thank you, Richard. Right, I'm mindful of time. I think we've only got about 20 minutes in this room, so could we wrap up the questions quite quickly? Yes, your next, Councillor Smith.
Thank you, Chair. Just very quickly, talking with my local retailers and things, one of the things that comes above in the question is this £200 limit that the government seems to have put into play and into space there. I know in reality it doesn't exist, but on the ground level, most people seem to think that there is this free area where they can go and do absolutely what they like.
That has never existed. It's never not been an offence to shoplift. £1.
I'm aware of this.
And again, it's that myth that was sort of perpetrated, but the £200 limit was about court time, about managing court time. If you are arrested for anyway offence, and court, theft shoplifting, you stole for £1 bar of chocolate, you could opt to go to Crown Court.
Yeah.
To get round that, to stop that from happening, the £200 limit clause. That was not to say that you would not get offence or you would not be prosecuted for it. It was you would not go to Crown Court to speed up the justice. So I understand. I understand it's been there, but
yeah,
I know
exactly where you are as well. But the misinterpretation on grain level is a lot of the retailers think that the £200 is just a free space where the perpetrators can operate. And I think this is why a lot of the crimes are not getting, not being.
And that's something we have to counter. Yeah. We can counter with comms, and you can certainly assist us by going back and saying.
I've tried to.
I asked a question and I was shot down by some.
I put comms out about it earlier this year across Swindon and County because of that, and I was asked about it. So comms did go out from our corporate comms team, but it might be that we have to do some work with that, and I have made it very, very clear to all neighbourhoods that when they're out communicating with their retailers, they've really got to kind of get that massive message into them. And I know it's not a problem in our area. Like I said, we've arrested someone for £9 a bottle of wine, but yeah, maybe there's some areas still that.
I know, going back to what Philip was saying earlier on, but I mean, one of our local supermarkets, £66,000 last year, lost revenue through shoplifting, and that's in one little.
Councillor Smith, can you do it to the chair? And sorry, I'm out of time.
Yeah.
If it's a specific case, we can take it out. So,
Okay. Yeah. If you don't mind. One final last thing. The BSRP many years ago, the neighbourhood, the pub watch thing was a very successful thing. Is this being sort of run out in the same sort of way as the original pub watch scheme?
So, we're looking at business crime. So business crime reduction partnership. It's not a retail crime reduction partnership. It's business crime. So we're looking at both the retail sector and the hospitality. So the aim is, the plan is to wrap up the nighttime economy, the hospitality into the same BCRP, feeding the same intel, because the person who's going out causing problems during the day is possibly going to be out of an evening causing problems as well. So the same intel, so you can tackle the same thing, because it's the same partners in the same area, so it makes sense to keep them together. So it's all businesses, because they just start with the retail, link in the hospitality where you've got good pub watches, and then we'll look beyond that, because you've got industrial estates where they make stuff from car meats or other stuff that BCRP may be able to assist with. So it's all crimes, but starting with retail.
And my My office provides training to pub owners, club owners in terms of how to manage different situations.
Right, we need to move on. Councillor Monroe, please.
Thank you, Chair. Thank you for your presentation. My question is, we can get as many community orders as possible from court, and we do give the orders. How are they monitored by the police? Because if I give an order, say, exclude from all retail premises except one, that persistent effect is coming back, saying this is being breached, and you've got to resend it. So how do you deal with that?
So we have a dedicated person who monitors all our civil orders. When there is a breach, they will flag that up to us and notify us, and we will take action on that breach. Recently, we've had somebody who breached an exclusion order and has received 8.5 months in prison. But what, as part of we're doing as Op Stabilise, is currently our serial offenders are amassing those offences, and then we're notified. We know who our serial offenders are, so we're being proactive in notifying that to our control room, to our crime management desk, to say this is the list. If they pop up for a shoplifting offence, we can guarantee that they will be doing several more. So tell us now so we can nip it in the bud early instead of waiting until they've got all those. But they are all monitored and the breaches are flagged up and actioned.
Quickly, please, we're running out of time.
Yeah, but that's after the event. But why can't we monitor them before they go into those shops?
We are, so very, very quickly, we are aware of them, we are fully aware of who they are, the area is aware of them. We know when they're in and out of prison, we keep contact with probation, we are targeting them, and we're fully aware, and we are monitoring them always commit crime. So talk about all day, but I get in trouble.
Final, Councillor Heading, quick one, please.
Yeah, well, this has been a great topic, generated so much conversation, and it's so high on everybody's list. Philip, thank you for mentioning the Chippenham neighbourhood policing team. I've got in my diary here, neighbourhood policing teams are essential in this work, and it's highlighted by the team in Chippenham who are well always.
Question, please.
I'll just make a couple of points. I am going to be quick. Stop. If Swindon are going to the bet for a bid, sorry, make sure it's value for money. We have one in Chippenham, and a lot of people backed out because they felt it wasn't value for money and they weren't getting out of it what they wanted out of it. Purple flag accreditation, I'm sure you know about that. I think Swindon, that would be a great thing for Swindon to go for. I think it'd be a big job for you, but it would be well worthwhile. I was thinking, and it came up about Shopwatch and how that's changed from walkie-talkies, which we had in the past, which ended up in a dusty corner because the manager changed and didn't tell the new person. And that's a lot of the problems with shops. I think that staff turnover and the new person hasn't been trained up. That's something definitely a focus area, and I presume now it's more WhatsApp groups and walkie-talkies. I'm going to keep an eye on what's happening in Salisbury because I'm very. We want to try to get something back in Chippenham, which is a town centre manager, but I'm going to be looking very closely at what happens in Salisbury. I'm also thinking about industrial park and retail park security and how you approach that. Is that down to the people on the park, on the retail park, AMPR cameras, things like that? Are they put in? Can they be put in by Wiltshire Police? Are they put in?
To the question, please.
So that is the question. I've got lots more here, and we can
take that out. You can take that outside because we have to vacate this room.
They will, if they are owned privately, the responsibility is on them for certain crime prevention measures. But as part of the wider BCRP ambition, as my colleague said, Steve said, it's not just retail crime, it will be business crime. So we'll be looking at businesses and those industrial estates as well.
Thank you, Carly. And could you circulate those slides to the panel members, please? I know Swindon Borough Council. And thank you very much, team.
Thank you.
Sorry, I appreciate we haven't got much time, that's why. Right, agenda 10, Commissioner's question time. We're not going to have much time, Commissioner. Who wants to ask some questions?
He's bad.
Thank you. I'll be asking questions of the commission.
Anybody wants to ask a question? No?
I can make a comment, not a question.
There's no question, then. I don't, I just have a quick one for the Commissioner. I don't know how you want to take it, Commissioner. The letter you wrote to all the councillors and MPs is fine, where you're coming from, but I find some words and language highly inappropriate in your letter. With hindsight, do you think that was appropriate of putting those language and words in there?
Absolutely, I do.
You did.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah. I thought it was a bit pushy, but I can
Question,
understand where you're coming
question.
I do not do party politics. I'm not particularly interested in party politics. I do national security and I do public safety. And I do that to the best of my ability, irrespective of whether that upsets people or not. Here, here.
Thank you. Let's move to agenda 11, forward work plan. On page 47 to 48.
Noted.
Everybody noted? Thank you. Agenda 12, communications, to receive update on how the police and crime panel can improve its communication with the wider public. Anything from the Commission's office?
That's to use the for the panel, not for us. We
So we put that on the next agenda.
Councillors?
No, okay. Yeah, communications.
Sorry, so can I suggest that we put that on the next agenda with the time that we have available?
Absolutely, but he came in for.
I'll give way. I'll give way to.
It's fine. So you want it on the next agenda? Agenda on the next.
It's
meeting.
always on the agenda.
Yeah.
So it is always on the agenda, but actually, can we have some suggestions rather than just leaving it, you know, have something to talk about rather than just having it as an agenda item?
I'll have to take that if any of the members put any suggestions. And if you want to put some suggestion, Councillor Bucknell, I'll be more than happy to take that up. Please, all councillors, you can email me and Matt to whatever, if you think there's relevant communication we need to put on the agenda. I'm more than happy to do that. Thank you. So we noted future meetings, and I'll have to go into the part 2 of the minutes for the previous meeting. It will be excluding the public. I'll read it out. I have to read this out. It's my advisor saying I have to read this out. So yeah.
Am I being evicted?
Yeah.
We're not evicting you. We just have to
Ask the household if they're evicted because I was going to claim the notice.
to agree that in accordance with section 108, paragraph 4 of the Local Government Act 1972, to exclude the public from the meeting for the business specified in item 14, because it is likely that if members of the public were present, there would be disclosures to them of exempt information as defined in paragraph 1 of part I of the Schedule 12A to the Act. The public interest in withholding the information outweighs the public interest in disclosing the information to the public. CJ, second that.
Thank you.
Yes, seconded.
There's more
Thank you.
policy is to go to investments than that. Wish me luck.
Vicky, can we come to your broadcasting?
Bye-bye.